Imagine hearing, in the empty corridor of your own mind, a quiet voice asking, why do certain feminine gestures illuminate the soul while others dissolve like mist? That whisper doesn't arrive with fanfare. It enters like the blade of an existential doubt, reminiscent of Nietzsche as he painted affection as the supreme artifice of the will. In that dense silence lies the thread that will lead the way across the unfolding passage. If the weight of the days has bent your shoulders and your thoughts spin without rest like leaves in a whirlwind, know that you are not wandering alone. Amid overdue bills, restless nights, and a pride that pretends indifference, countless men roam their own labyrinth, yearning for proof of genuine care. Schopenhauer would call this hunger for consolation a naked will, while Jung would see the shadow crying for recognition, both describing the same thirst to be seen beyond the mask. I invite you, then, to suspend the external noise and follow a deeper rhythm where ancient archetypes breathe. Visualize an invisible flame that only glows when it finds authentic devotion. It grows through subtle acts, a coffee placed in silence, a name defended in your absence, a shelter improvised in chaos. Machiavelli would remind us that loyalty can never be begged for, it must be earned. Seneca would add that within it lies a rare serenity. In the next few minutes, we will move through 6 manifestations that never arise from chance, but from a bond that touches eternity without display. Allow each word to fall not as loud advice, but as a drop that carves stone until it reveals clarity. Feel the discrete impact, recognize the truth without haste, and perceive where it already pulses, or is still missing, in your own story. The journey begins now. There are moments when the masculine heart awakens with the jolt of someone hearing, in darkness, a branch snap. Something gives way in the chest, announcing that the everyday theater is no longer enough. In that silent rupture emerges the question Marcus Aurelius might have murmured before lifting his gaze to the Roman sky. Where does the sign of true affection dwell, the kind that pierces through pride, haste, and calculation? The mind tries to silence the call with tasks, noise, and notifications, but the doubt remains, spinning like an invisible flame that refuses to go out. The modern traveler carries burdens that remain unseen, meetings that steal the dawn, debts that whisper fear into his ear, a misty anxiety that stifles sleep. He preserves a firm mask, though the mud rises within. And in that swamp, ancient philosophy finds fertile ground. For Seneca already warned that danger does not lie in fate's blows, but in the turmoil we allow to fester in the soul. In recognizing the turbulence, the man realizes he needs something more than hasty formulas. He needs a gesture that confirms his dignity. Imagine, then, a feminine presence approaching without spectacle, like a breeze that moves curtains without touching the floor. She doesn't improvise speeches, doesn't offer golden promises. She simply moves with the natural pace of someone who honors what she feels. Epictetus would say that virtue is action aligned with reason, and there are subtle clues that only emerge when that internal alignment becomes real. With every caring glance, every defense voiced in your absence, every quiet renunciation of vanity games, a bridge rises between two worlds, not with noise but with precision. To feel this bridge materialize is like hearing a bell buried deep in the chest, undeniable, irreversible. Whoever recognizes the sound no longer accepts bread made of wind. He longs for the substance that nourishes, not the one that distracts. This is where the pilgrimage toward Stoic clarity begins, where every step exposes self-deception and each breath invites presence. The journey demands courage to look into mirrors that reflect our flaws, yet it offers in return the freedom to respond with inner mastery. And only in that state will the traveler be able to distinguish the traces of a love that never bargains with principles. At the corners of memory, there arise glimpses of women who embroidered care in the pauses between chaos. A coffee left on the table before the alarm sounds, a name defended in a circle of strangers, a discreet retreat from invitations that might wound. These were not grand gestures nor crumbs of affection, they were confirmations of alliance, as if the guardian could see in the other a future worthy of cultivation. Schopenhauer might call such an impulse a transcended will, freed from the simple pursuit of advantage. However, to perceive such delicacy, one must first quiet the internal noise. Fatigue manufactures mirages. It projects meaning where only habit resides. How many times has the wanderer mistaken convenience for tenderness, fleeting excitement for a promise of eternity? Seneca would remind us that the untrained gaze magnifies trivialities and dismisses treasures because its criteria have been dulled by the fear of solitude. The time has come to refine perception, like a potter scraping away impurities until the vessel reveals its pure lines. When perception sharpens, something remarkable occurs. Time slows around small acts, and in the space between inhalation and exhalation, a quiet certainty appears. The companion who gives care without demands, who protects your name without witnesses, who guards exposure without command. She is shaping sacred ground where the bond can bloom. There is no audience, no medals, only two consciousnesses recognizing each other in the greater silence that surrounds them. There, philosophy becomes tangible, because Stoic ethics was never distant theory. It was always a body in motion. Still, do not be misled. Such manifestations do not emerge from neediness or blind devotion. They are born of acquired strength. Whoever chooses to support another without losing their own wholeness has already tamed their monsters. That inner command, sung by Epictetus, upholds the freedom to say yes without surrendering one's essence. Thus, each gesture of care becomes a translation of sovereignty over impulse, and every refusal to play trivial games echoes rare maturity. The attentive man will then perceive that greatness requires no trumpets, only the echo of firm steps on a path few dare to tread. To recognize such signs demands abandoning old tales of conquest, for the predator who measures worth by the hearts he collects will never notice the depth of a soul offered in full. Marcus Aurelius warned that the mind suffers more from imagination than from reality. Likewise, many suffer from phantoms created by their own vanity. When the swordsman lowers the blade of ego, he discovers that the greatest victory is guarding what few even perceive, the inner territory where peace resides. And now, the final test appears. To face your own shadow beside someone unafraid of another's darkness. The guardian who stays when the wall collapses, who holds your trembling hand while you confront failure and regret. She makes chaos fertile ground. She does not idolize weakness. She inspires reconstruction. Like a blacksmith heating metal until it glows, then forging a sharper blade, she witnesses the fire without turning away. Such a scene, seen through Stoic eyes, reveals that the highest good blooms in shared adversity. When a man feels red even in his erased lines, he experiences a singular liberation. The armor softens, the breath deepens, the mind clears. Seneca would say the virtuous man is invulnerable because he has surrendered completely to reason. And yet, that invulnerability finds its fullness in reciprocal care. It is not dependency, it is synergy. Two fortresses building a bridge between towers, allowing light to pass and shelter to be exchanged when the thunder rolls. At this point, all doubts about feminine manifestations dissolve like morning mist. The one who has studied his own passions sees clearly now. There are exactly 6 expressions reserved only for true love, and none of them can be imitated for long. The heart, now disciplined, distinguishes authentic perfume from synthetic fragrance. And in that clarity, gratitude blooms. Not the loud kind, but the one that hums through the spine and anchors the gaze in the present. Thus, what unfolds here is no trick. It is a series of open windows. Each one reveals a fragment of shared dignity, spontaneous care, unseen defense, silent exclusivity, adaptation without self-erasure, presence in darkness, and finally, witness of rebirth. None of these frames stands alone. Together they form a luminous mosaic that leads the wanderer back to himself. And there is recognition. To honor such love requires, first, becoming worthy of it. When the inner thunder ceases, what remains is the quiet melody of full attention. From that stillness, the man understands that authentic affection is not hunted like a trophy. It is cultivated in fertile soil within, where such love can safely rest. The final teaching, whispered by Epictetus, resounds, "Your task is not to control the world, but to govern your ascent." Govern it well, and you will see with clarity who brings a real flower and who brings illusion. May every word of this journey act as a touchstone for the weary mind, reminding it that serenity is born when judgment slows. If a single spark was lit during this crossing, guard it from the winds of cynicism, for it leads to the firm core where freedom rests. And when in quiet nights the feminine presence appears, offering those 6 gestures without announcement, the heart will no longer doubt. It will recognize in the silence a promise of eternity. Each step of this journey has cleared the fog from the eyes, until silent care revealed itself as the cornerstone of a deeper architecture. Now, as the echo of past unrest fades, it becomes clear that each genuine gesture, a coffee beside an empty cup, a name defended across a table, a steady presence in dark hours, is not sentimental ornament, but the mirror in which the soul sees its stature. What once seemed mere politeness now emerges matured as living proof that 2 minds can dance without dominance, revealing the Stoic lesson that only the virtuous truly perceive virtue. 6 quiet manifestations have aligned like constellations, guiding the wanderer from diffuse anxiety to tangible clarity. Each point of light shows that greatness is written in the pauses between words when belief becomes action, and will finds courage to release the noise. In this way, authentic love ceases to be romantic idealism and becomes shared discipline, an art of sustaining space where the other can bloom without losing their roots, where one's own strength contains the tenderness offered without request. To carry this perception beyond the screen is like tending a small, unquenchable flame at the center of the chest. It will remind you in days to come that no applause can replace the serenity earned by deciphering real signs, that one's worth lies in the capacity to nurture and protect, not in the fleeting shine of hollow promises. And if the shadow of old chaos returns, it will suffice to remember, loyalty made visible in daily life speaks louder than any excited speech. If this path stirred something within you, something once unnamed, leave a trace of that recognition where the conversation continues. Perhaps a word, perhaps a memory of your own. Share this with someone still lost in the labyrinth, and subscribe only if you feel that this small flame deserves enduring company. For the question that remains quiet and unyielding is both simple and final. When silence returns, which gestures will still shine?